Licensing plays an essential role, as we all know, in regulating broadcasting and telecommunication services. And this is to ensure that operators comply with the standards for these services as provided in terms of the Communications Act of 2009. So the role includes, but obviously not limited to, spectrum use and technical requirements in order to protect consumers and overall to promote competition, fair competition within the market. Compliance also plays a role in spectrum management, as well as ensuring that spectrum is efficiently used, because this is a limited resource, and also to prevent interferences between operators while still optimizing spectrum use for better quality of service.
So tell us how many types of licenses CRAN issues.
Okay, so CRAN issues different licenses, from telecommunication service licenses, broadcasting licenses, postal licenses, as well as spectrum use licenses.
And how essential would you say is licensing at safeguarding and protecting the integrity of services, and how can it set apart licensees?
Okay, with for example, in broadcasting, right, licensing is that regulatory tool that sets ethical and content guidelines to control what can be aired, and most especially to ensure that programs meet cultural, moral, and public interest standards that can safeguard against harmful or offensive content. Licensing is also very essential in ensuring that the quality of service adheres to technical and also operational guidelines set out in the different regulatory frameworks for telecommunications and broadcasting services, which protects you and me as consumers of these services from receiving subpar or unreliable services. Also, to ensure the integrity of services, licensing ensures that only those entities authorized and licensed to provide telecommunication or broadcasting services can operate such services. So what this means is that as a licensee, you are set apart in terms of building your market credibility and also fostering trust from consumers, because they know you are a legitimate, compliant operator as opposed to the unlicensed ones. So what this means then for you is that you have a business advantage. The business advantage, is that you have a competitive edge in terms of building your business, and also ensuring that you can also build your business in terms of building your partnerships from investors.
Now, central to compliance is the responsibility of licensees to submit, of course, timely reports to CRAN. How does CRAN then ensure that this is, and what will happen in an instance of non-compliance?
So, what usually happens in those instances of non-compliance is that we usually then apply the provisions of the Communications Act in terms of Section 114. Then that is what then comes into play, whereby we would then reach out to you, and before obviously we impose any fines and stuff like that, we then need to find out from you and give you an opportunity for you to be able to indicate to us why such could not be done, or why you could not submit your reports on time. And then if as a regulator, then we would obviously assess those reasons and see the appropriate sanction that would be carried as a result of your non-compliance.
And how frequently does CRAN, as a regulatory body, experience such non-compliance from licensees, and what are some of the given reasons thereof?
Reports most of the time and in different organizations, but they are usually submitted quarterly and so forth like that. So it is a frequent occurrence among operators, and some of the reasons that are put forth is just that the most simple one is that they just forget. This is obviously despite CRAN ensuring that when they issue you first with a license, it has conditions, licensing conditions in terms of your reporting standards and timelines. And also what even CRAN does is to ensure that before the submissions, we usually send out reminders for deadlines to the stakeholders as well as notices. But you'll find that some operators simply forget. Perhaps some of them also is just it's just ignorance or not having enough time to comply in terms of that. But most of the time it includes forgetfulness. Some would indicate that there has been a change in the person assigned to ensure that they have submitted their reports or on time.
So has CRAN ever had to revoke a license?
Yes, it has. It has done that, and on reasonable grounds, of course, where there have been non-compliances in terms of certain provisions of the Act. But there is not a decision that obviously comes lightly. It is a reasonable one based on facts and evidence.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've run out of all the questions that I had for you this morning, Lovisa. Was there anything that you wanted to highlight in terms of our topic this morning?
Yes, I think just a tip to operators, obviously, that in the end, it's just to ensure that they incorporate the compliance function as a key component to their risk frameworks. So to ensure that they run their business processes smoothly and to avoid situations that may cause compliance issues, which obviously also impacts their business operations. So my encouragement is that there is a need really for operators to keep compliance registers, which would help them in recording their legal obligations, and also to monitor compliances with those obligations that are set out for them in terms of the Act, and more importantly in terms of their licenses that they hold, because there are conditions attached to those and they need to ensure that they comply towards those for a smooth business activities. And also it helps us as the operator when we receive timely reports. It's a ripple effect to also being in a better position to efficiently regulate and also to make better decisions. So it's not just an obligation towards the operators, but also with CRAN also it helps us a lot in terms of our decision making and administrative function.